So I have a question. Are we in 2025 or are we in 1965? Because sometimes it still feels like Title IX hasn't been passed, that women's rights haven't been recognized, that we haven't progressed at all because we're living in an era where men still feel like they have access to our spaces, where women aren't allowed to speak up when they don't feel safe with men in our private spaces, and where there are actual women that are telling other women that it's discriminatory to say that men cannot be in our spaces. It is a twilight zone, but this is something that we keep having to deal with. So today we are going to talk about this woman. I'm not entirely sure what her name is actually, even though her story has been going viral over the last couple of days, who was kicked out of Gold's Gym and lost her membership because she confronted a man that was in the locker room. So we're going to look at how this all played out. And honestly, one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is because I'm aware that this keeps happening. And I thought to myself, what would I do in this situation? Because I know that it might seem that I'm really loud and opinionated at all times. Most of the time, I actually keep to myself. I don't really like confrontation. I'm not going to run from it, but I don't really like it. I don't yell and scream at people in public. I don't enjoy making a scene. I don't like drawing attention to myself. I don't like making other people feel uncomfortable. But I have thought to myself, what would I do if I saw a man come into my locker room or come into my bathroom, especially if I had my daughter with me? So I think that it's important to see when women stand up against these things and to just give ourselves a little bit more courage, because I would like to think that I would handle it exactly the way that she did. But before we get too much further, I'm Outspoken Samantha. I appreciate you so much for being here. Please hit the like button on this video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for doing both of those things. So this, as I said, is the woman in question today. And she is the one that was in a locker room in a Gold's Gym when a biological male, or just a male as we're calling them, because what other kind of man is there other than a biological male? He walked in and she confronted him. What are you doing in here? This is the women's locker room. Get your butt out. So let's look at what that confrontation looked like.
Did you tell me or not that women like to see?
I'm not asking you a question.
Exactly. Get out of the way now. No. Now he knows how to be a man, right? Now he knows how to be a man. Stay out of the women's locker room. We don't want it. He needs to have his gym membership revoked for that shit. And the woman told you. He assaulted me. The girl told already. We already filed reports. No.
That's fine. I want the video.
You can't get rid of me for this. I'm a woman and I have every right to not want a man in the restroom when I'm naked. There are girls naked in there. Look at them walking in there like it's okay. It's not okay.
I don't know if you caught in the beginning, the first thing that she said was that he said, while they were in there together, that women like to see D. That's what she said that he said to her. And as infuriating as it would be to have this gentleman or any gentleman in the locker room with me, if that was what he said, clearly he's mocking the situation, mocking the fact that she doesn't feel safe. And if you're admitting that that is your genitalia, then you were letting her know that I am well aware that I'm a male, but because of these self-ID laws, because of women's progress, I can do this. I can get away with it. There's nothing you can do about it. And if you try to speak up about it, chances are you're going to face the penalties far more than I will. That's, I guarantee, what is going through most of these guys' heads. After the confrontation made its way around social media, then there was a video of her yelling in the front lobby because she is the one who lost her gym membership. And this is what that looked like.
Gold's Gym! Men! Grown men with big dicks in the women's locker room! And that's why I'm getting kicked out, and I want to make sure the girls know! Everybody saw that man in the fucking room! No one's saying shit! And I'm fucking with it! It's stupid! It's dangerous! Me naked in front of a man without my permission. But I ain't the one who gets kicked out the gym, y'all. I'm terminated for not wanting men in the locker room.
Normally, I would not be in favor of public outbursts like this. We see far too often people just lose their minds. And more often than not, it's over something completely ridiculous. And the reaction, the outburst is it's disproportionate to the thing that they're actually upset about. 9.9 times out of 10 don't love it. But in this case, I feel like it's justified. And I honestly think that this woman is a little bit of a hero for speaking up and letting people know that this is what this establishment stands for. That she confronted a man in the locker room, and because of that, she's the one that's getting kicked out. All of the women in that area need to know this is what the gym stands for. That if you have a problem with this, if you want to protect your privacy, if you feel unsafe with men in the locker room while you're changing or showering or doing whatever, then you're going to get kicked out if you speak up. Again, is this 1965 or 2025? I'm confused. So I'm glad that she spoke up in the way that she did. And again, it makes me wonder in my head, would I do this if I was in this situation? Because I've just played it out in my brain so many times, especially since my family moved from a very, very red state to now a very, very blue state a few months ago. But I understand that the possibility of this happening is now higher the area that I live in because I'm surrounded by liberal progressive women in particular that would protect the male in that space over the woman who doesn't feel safe in that area. That includes myself and my daughter. So would I just keep the peace and not say anything, or would I make a scene? And I'm hoping that this would make all of us feel a little bit more emboldened to speak up because it needs to happen. So later, she uploaded a video describing exactly what happened. So here's that.
Today I was naked in the locker room. I turn around and there's a man there in boy clothes, lip gloss, standing there looking at me. I'm butt naked. So the first thing I think is maybe there's a word doing here. Maybe I missed the sign. I say the word sir to say, sir, what are you doing in here? He goes, don't fuck me. I'm a woman. I have a right to be in here. Immediately, I'm pissed because I'm butt naked. I feel violated. I feel like weird. Like I don't want to deal with this, right? So the girls are walking in and they're seeing the commotion and they actually chime in and say, yo, I don't know why he's in here. He's not supposed to be in here. And then I talk to the people that work at Gold's Gym and they don't really have anything to do. They just like, oh, we can file a report about it, incident report. What the fuck going on? Like, listen, how can you say you're a woman or you want to be a woman and you don't care how women feel? That's nothing more manly than not giving a how women feel, I'd like to think. And I get it, like, everybody has their own things, and I don't want to say that I know everything about gay rights or trans rights. I'm a lesbian. I've been a lesbian my whole life. I treat people how I want to be treated regardless of whatever their sexual orientation is or whatever they decide. So I'm not transphobic and I'm not homophobic. I'm not straightophobic. I'm not racist. None of these things. I just believe in treating people how I want to be treated. Why do you guys think it's okay for men to be in the women's restroom? And like, when is the cutoff point? Is it like, oh, you cut off your penis, you can come in here? Why aren't women making the laws? And if you really want to be safe and feel good, why don't we just make trans restroom?
Well, that's a question a lot of us have been wondering for a long time because it always seems to be women's spaces that are sacrificed on the trans altar. It's never men's spaces. And we know that that's because if women were to identify as a man and then go into a men's locker room, they are surrounded by men and that would be unsafe for them. But it's always women that are expected to just go along with this, to be quiet, to stay silent, and to just deal with it. And if we say anything, then we're discriminatory, we're bigoted, we're insert phobic name here, which is absolutely insane. But what's even more insane is that we know that the men that are going into these spaces are not chivalrous men. They are not men that value respect towards women. Obviously, these are mentally ill men. So not only are we getting men in women's private spaces where we're the most vulnerable, we're getting the worst of the worst. And Redux posted this about the gentleman that was in the locker room at Gold's Gym. Says the man who was confronted by Listen to Tish for invading the women's facilities at Gold's Gym can be identified as Grant Freeman, also known as Angel Rising and Alexis Black. Freeman only began identifying as a woman recently and has a criminal record in the state of Ohio. Apparently, these were a couple of posts that this person made this year. One of them says, "Who hires transgender felons?" Asking for myself. And this one says, "This is my domain. I just turned down a musical performance because they aren't cool with trans people." He responded, "Trump," when I asked him if he was supportive of me transitioning from male to female. That's kind of funny. And this was apparently this individual before they transitioned, and this is just a screenshot of their criminal record, allegedly. It says trafficking in drugs, possession of drugs, serving bench warrant for court, disorderly conduct, stuff like that. So interesting. And this is where I think the policies come into place that allow these things to happen. So this is from Gold's Gym directly, and what they consider transitioned enough, I guess, to use the locker room or the bathroom of the opposite sex. It's wild to me that I even have to say that because that shouldn't even be a thing. But it says transgender criteria. To participate in a division other than that which matches the athlete's sex assigned at birth, the athlete must meet the following criteria. The athlete must have consistently identified with the transgender identity in the athlete's everyday life for at least 2 consecutive years prior to registration, and 2, the athlete, A, must have been undergoing hormonal or other treatment supporting the transgender identity under the supervision of a qualified professional practitioner for at least 2 years preceding registration, or must have valid civil documentation, like a driver's license or passport, listing the athlete's gender that matches the transgender registration. So my question is this, and I'm sure a lot of you have signed up for gym memberships in the past. At what point in that registration process are they going to ask you about all of these things and ask you to provide documentation that you have been transitioned for at least 2 years, that you've been living this way for that length of time, and that you've been taking hormones for that length of time? Like, do we really think that these people that are selling gym memberships are going to sit down and really analyze what is happening here? And that's why they throw in there, or they can just have a driver's license or a passport that says that they're the opposite sex. And we know that in a lot of these states, that's really not difficult to do. It's really not difficult to change the sex on your legal identifying documentation. To me, the criteria is very, very flimsy. If this is something that they're going to continue to do and it's not going away anytime soon, which it looks like in a lot of these places it's not, you know what they should include in this criteria? They should say, we need to see your mental health history. Have you ever been in a straitjacket? Have you ever been committed to an asylum? Do you have a criminal record? And what does that criminal record look like? Do you have a history of violence? Those are the things that actually make this concerning. And we are finding that a lot of people that engage in this have a very shady mental health history, do have a history of perhaps drug abuse, or a criminal record of some kind, which goes back to the fact that we're not getting the best of the best in these private spaces, and they're letting people that have a tendency to be a little bit more violent or a little bit more mentally unwell into the most vulnerable spaces of people that have a lower likelihood of being able to defend themselves. How does that make sense? How did we get here? How, as a woman, can you say that you defend this? How, as a man, can you say that you defend this? But if you put all of the pieces together, you are saying that you think men who are mentally unwell, that you don't care if they have a violent history or a criminal record of any kind, that you don't care what their fetishes and their fantasies are, you don't care really for what reason they're transitioning, that they should be able to go to these private spaces with women who, more often than not, are not going to be able to defend themselves, because at the end of the day, these are men. They are physically stronger. They are physically more intimidating. And a lot of times women aren't going to speak up because the people that advocate for this stuff have pretty much intimidated them into silence. Just another story that I wanted to share, because as much as we would love to believe that this is subsiding or slowly going away, which in some ways it probably is, it is still very much alive and well, and we need to be aware of it. And also just think to ourselves, how would we handle this situation? Because I don't think that not saying anything is an option. Obviously, I'm not saying make people feel unsafe, but it is our right to stand up for our private spaces and to call it out when those rights of privacy are being violated, and to not pretend that this is normal or safe or okay. I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments below. Please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. As you know, we always end with a clip of Charlie Kirk, so keep it real, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Our daughter, and they came out to you and they said, Charlie, I'm gay, or Charlie, I'm trans, what would be your course of action in that? Like, would you still support them?
If they came out as trans, I'd say, no, honey, you're a girl, or no, my son, you're a boy. I don't affirm delusions. You do not affirm what is harmful or what is not true, and you must find the underlying issue as to why this is happening. 75% of minors that are trans are girls. 75%. Largely found because of social contagions of young ladies that are on the autism spectrum that most times are having puberty anxiety and are being bullied or feel self-conscious for changes that are happening to their body. What we are told is that we must stop puberty, that puberty is the problem. In reality, 99% of the time, puberty is the solution to a lot of these trans issues.
Yes.
That you allow puberty to work its course, all of a sudden, the girl becomes a woman, and she feels a lot more at home and safe at how she is and comfortable how she is. That's the worst time to have psychological interventions at that time. Young women have always been more prone to social contagions, and transgenderism is a social contagion. A 5,000% increase in transgenderism is not normal. It wasn't like within everybody, is an external force upon our nation's youth.